some of our programs is pretty harsh. And Joe and I, we pulled no punches at all. And they didn't like us there anymore, so they made this technical obstacle. We then have to bring in our own crew to set up the cameras and everything, and so we didn't have any resources to do that. So we went looking for another studio to do it, and we came up in Bolton, Connecticut, and they were extremely helpful with us setting us up there. They taught me how to do editing and all that stuff.
And this is Comcast?
Yes, it's Comcast, yeah.
Now where's Bolton, Connecticut?
Bolton, it's not far from Hartford. It's very close to Hartford.
On what route?
That's on
384.
On 384, yeah.
384, and then it's 85.
83, is it? About roughly 20 miles east of Hartford.
Yeah.
And so this is your 11th year by now?
Yes. Yeah. A good 11 years we've been doing this.
Thank you, sweetie.
So we're still in one piece in this country. Next summer we're going to set up our cameras on my back porch and do it there.
And do it there and then hand in the tapes?
Yes, yeah.
And you won't have to do studio work anymore, right, Ed?
Not as much.
Yes.
So.
And how are you today?
I'm very well. Another minute for...
good gift and perfect gift comes from you. And we give you praise and thanks for all your mercies. Your goodness has created us. Your bounty has sustained us. Your discipline has chastened us. Your patience has borne with us. And your love has redeemed us. Give us a heart to love and serve you, and enable us to show our thankfulness for all your goodness and mercy by giving up ourselves to your service and cheerfully submitting in all things to your blessed will. Through Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
And so, folks, love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. How can you go wrong? Here's some jokes for you. We had such a good time yesterday with the people not putting up with judicial corruption. And what do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 50? Your Honor. And what's the difference between a train and a teacher? Teacher says, don't chew, and the train says, chew, chew. And Ed says he was playing golf, and he shoots in the low 70s, and that's true. If it gets any colder, he won't go out. And Paul, the doctor told him he wasn't getting enough. He was watching too much golf on TV. He says, you need more exercise. So now Paul watches tennis on TV. And the judge is out on the golf course, and the judge says, caddy, why do you keep looking at your watch? And the caddy says, oh no, Your Honor, this isn't a watch, it's a compass. Marilyn knew it was going to be a good day, She goes to Walmart and she gets her grocery cart, and all the wheels are going in the same direction. The statistics say, Department of Labor, that 31 million Americans are idle. Those are the ones who work for the courts. And the little old lady asked the college graduate, what was your major? And he said, English grammar, communication skills, advanced oratory, and diction. She said, really? He said, yeah. And the father says, how come the boy who wasn't good enough for your daughter is the father of the brightest grandson in the world? Peter says he has a disease that's so rare that they haven't even had a telethon for it yet. And Ed says that he looks so bad, he's so much out of shape, that the health club makes him use the back door. Senior citizen? She said, if I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. And one woman says, I don't eat health foods. I need all the preservatives I can get. Terrence took his son to the fights. He says, he told his friend, I took my son to the fights last night. And his friend says, well, how do you like it? And Terrence says, oh, he liked it. He'd never been to a hockey game before. And the woman in the hospital said the food was so bad that she asked them to feed her intravenously. And the last joke is, Dorothy said, our dining room table goes back to Louis the 13th. And her friend says, if we don't make the payment, our dining room table goes back to J.C. Penney on the 15th. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. 2 minutes of goodwill, good cheer, and good humor. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. Welcome to a Glendora Happy Book. Glendora loves you, and she loves God, and she wants you to be happy. Now, Edward Whitney, we had so much fun. Edward Whitney and Albert LeBrun and Arnie Engen, the three of us fighting judicial corruption, and we've taken a big stand against it. And this is the book that Mr. Whitney has written. And it's called The Controllers, Secret Rulers of the World by Edward A. Whitney. And it says that throughout history there always have been powerful people who work secretly behind the scenes to advance their own objectives, often to the detriment of the public as a whole. Now, I don't want you to be controlled by anybody. I want you to be absolute. I want you to be determined by yourself and nothing outside of yourself. Because I believe all the riches in the world you want are contained inside of you. When you sit down and have your alone time with God and you evoke these great values. President Woodrow Wilson said in 1913, since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately. Some of the biggest men in the United States in the field of commerce and manufacturing are afraid of somebody, are afraid of something. They know that there is a power somewhere, so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive, that they had better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it. 20 years later, President Franklin D. Roosevelt said in a letter, "A financial element in the large centers has owned the government of the United States since the days of Andrew Jackson." Does that sound familiar? Did Glendora ever tell you that we have a great government but it's been kidnapped? The situation is no different today. A few thousand wealthy and influential people, this is Edward A. Whitney speaking, who work mostly behind the scenes and keep their objectives secret from the public, largely control the world. This book identifies them, exposes some of their past activities, and sets forth ways of dealing with them. Okay, let's deal with them. Let's not let them get away with it. Let's not let them enslave us. A system of global control, referred to as the New World Order by President George Bush in many of his speeches, is in effect today. The insiders are promoting a one-world government, a one-world economy, and a one-world religion, with themselves in charge of everything. Don't you let it happen. Don't you let it happen. You sit down and you spend your alone time with God, and you be absolute. You be determined only by what's inside of you, not what is outside of you. A growing number of people are becoming aware of what is going on behind the scenes, thanks to Edward A. Whitney, thanks to Arnie Engen, thanks to Albert LeBrun, and thanks to a chat with Glendora and to Jim Burness and all of our other troopers. A growing number of people are becoming aware of what is going on behind the scenes, and they are becoming increasingly resistant to the idea of a global socialistic dictatorship. Eurodollar, okay, Free Trade Act. This book seeks to add to that awareness so that freedom can be maintained without violence or bloodshed. Way to go, Edward Whitney, the controllers. This is Alfred LeBrun's website, and the total corruption of the courts in Connecticut as to Albert LeBrun, the frame-up, the flaunting of justice, broad daylight corruption that has gone on in the Connecticut courts. And here is his website. Welcome to Corrupticut. www.CT is Connecticut Kangaroo Court.com. www.Connecticut Kangaroo Court. Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love, the fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above. Well, folks, the titling started Saturday morning, October 22nd, around 7 or 8 o'clock. And there were 13 editions, and all the titles were put on them. And then Mr. Arnie Engen and Mr. Albert Lebrun and Mr. Edward Whitney came and took Glendora out to lunch. And we talked about judicial corruption and about the New World Order, which is trying to steal everything from us. We just can't get enough power and enough money. And the titling actually got done on Saturday. It didn't spill over into the next day, as it has before. And so today, after church, around 1 o'clock, the editing started. And these dubs were from last week. But so today we did 10, 20, 30 dubs. And these. Isn't it fun to have a TV show? Well, it is. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's fun. And here's another 40. So we've got 80 videotapes to distribute next weekend. And we're up to the last edition, the 13th edition right now, making 6 dubs of each one. And my helper here, you just can't believe what a great help she has been. And we possibly could make it by curfew, which is 11 o'clock. It's cold. Not in here, but outdoors it's cold. Now Mr. Engen and Mr. Lebrun and Mr. Whitney and Glendora accomplished a great deal on their Saturday visit, and think of it, how far they drove. They drove from Meriden, Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Windsor, Connecticut. And we accomplished a lot. We made them 6 dubs, but unfortunately we didn't save you a copy, so we'll have to recoup on that. The computer failed to come up with Mr. Engen and Mr. Whitney, and I had such a beautiful picture of them in audio on the computer, but it wouldn't work when they were here. And we had a good dinner, although I'd rather eat at home, and we had good talk, and Mr. Whitney gave me a copy of his book, The Controllers, the people, the secret conspiracy, who is running our government, and other things that we'll talk about much more later. And I've already jotted a few thought to discuss with them. So what else did we accomplish? Oh, and we went to see the museum. That was very, very important. What we didn't get done was an interview of them. Now that was ridiculous. We didn't get an interview done of them. So let's do it over again. Vegetarian real meal. This is onions, green pepper, orange carrots, orange for October, rice, and a vegetarian hamburger made by Worthington Foods, now owned by Kellogg's and being ruined by Kellogg's, a lettuce and cucumber and Italian dressing and a shake. the shake's so thick that the straw will stand up in the shake by itself. And what's in the shake? Oatmeal, raw oatmeal, cashews, bananas, and pineapple juice. I think this is a video, folks. The hats being packed up, the summer hats, and being taken to the museum. People say very often, how many hats do you have? And I never know. So I would say this is, oh, this is a nice one. I really should put the light on. What would you say? Here's one. There you go. Here's one. Pink, white, green, purple. So that's about 6. Yellow, fuchsia, purple, and white. Okay, off you go to the museum and the winter hats come back. One lawyer wrote to another lawyer, "Sir, I regret to inform you that our respective clients are in danger of agreement. We are reading by Edward A. Whitney. The people who are trying to take away what belongs to you and use it for themselves. The selfish versus the innocent. Take away your money, your power, your justice in the courts, your constitution, anything they can steal from you. And they do it by influencing your so-called government clandestinely, surreptitiously. They are absconding with your great rights. Now, doesn't that upset you, .com? Aren't you bothered by that? What do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 50? What do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 50? Your Honor. Sink is no good, folks. Toilet is no good. Bathroom sink is no good. We don't have any water. Isn't that something? But look out here. Look at this. Look at all that water. And that's within 5 minutes. Now this is legal paper number 3 out of 6 for this week. Daniel Dominguez is a United States District Judge in Puerto Rico. He is a defendant. This is Omnibus 26. And here's an upside down defendant, as most of them are. Elliot Spitzer, the Attorney General for the state of New York, and his accomplice, Monica Connell. Arthur Spat, a United States District Judge in the Southern District of New York, and his ghostwriter, Jeffrey Amato. David Jackson and J.P. Morgan Chase Bank. Thank you for the $100 they gave me back that they took out of my bank account. Carlos Gutierrez, the CEO of Kellogg Company, for ruining Fried Chick and Grillers. And how come Dominguez gets 2? David Rockefeller, thank you for the $100 that you returned to my bank account. Manager Sue, no thanks to you, you never should have taken it out. Arnie Engen, great American hero, Meriden, Connecticut. Albert LeBrun, who stands up for what's right in the courts. The Center for Judicial Accountability, Incorporated. No Reed, Brad Sachs. George McDermott, great American hero in Washington, D.C. Lawrence Pearsall, a United States District Judge in South Dakota. These are all Chief Judge Bodine of the First Circuit in Boston, who should oversee this Providence, Rhode Island court. William Wilkins, who's the Chief Judge of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit in Richmond, Virginia. He's a defendant. Joseph Battalion, who is a judge in Omaha, Nebraska, United States Judge in Omaha, Nebraska. Joel M. Flom, who is the Chief Judge in the United States Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit in Chicago, and his dishonest clerk, Gino Agnello. Those are some of the defendants and some of the friends to whom this legal paper has been sent. And what is this legal paper? Well, it is written to Mary M. Lisi, a United States District Judge in Providence, Rhode Island, to a magistrate there in Lincoln D. Allman, he's a nut, and to Ernest C. Torres at the United States District Court in Providence, Rhode Island. And I got to show you. Folks, the United States Code, Section 636, Title 28, says that no magistrate shall touch a lawsuit without the litigant's signature, without the litigant's consent in writing. And this court violated the United States Code. And when this order came from this judge named Lisi, this was a clear infraction of the United States Code. And so Glendora writes, notice is hereby given that this court Lisi and Allman have violated the United States Code, i.e. Title 28, U.S. Code, Section 636, and this is actionable. Lisi paper of October the 4th, therefore, is illegal and is, ergo, a nullity, as is the attached judgment. To be legal, a judgment has to be within the bounds of the United States Code. Long ago, Glendora won this case on her motion for default judgment, pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 55. Rhode Island Federal Court has lost its power to perform. Powers legal, intellectual, moral, physical, spiritual. Let's turn it over, folks. Let's turn them over. Clerical and judicial. Their slithers are a lie, a cheat, and a cover-up, all actionable under Criminal Code Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1001. This court is already being sued for losing Glendora's $250 filing fee, and add to their violation mail fraud. Another federal judge hits the pits. Mary A. Lisi. You are advertised as a court of justice. You have committed consumer fraud. Glendora demands you return her $250. This is a ripoff. And you know what the service is, folks. I just showed it to you. What's this say? Dated October 24, 2005, Anno Domini. TV show and internet number is 4206-2. It's Opus 1315. Took 5 hours and it cost $10. A chat with Glendora on 48 TV stations, 480 municipalities, including Washington, D.C. And on the internet at www.achatwithglendora.com. Yours in truth and in amor patriae, Glendora. Here's the whole paper. See, it lists all of the defendants in Omnibus 36 lawsuit. Nothing like an open-faced letter. Everybody can read it on the postal trail from Albany, New York to Providence, Rhode Island. Send for or call for a free Glendora Happy Book. Glendora wants to see you happy. We have to pray for those people, by the way. They're on my prayer list. I'll show them to you. Breathe them, breathe on them, breath of God, until their hearts are pure. Until their will is one with thine, to do and to endure. These are all legal papers that have been done. The first 5 days of October were glorious. They were perfect. Do you remember them? We've had 19 days of rain ever since. Is that a joke? What do you call a liar with an IQ of 50? Your Honor, How is a train different from a teacher? A train says, well, a teacher says, don't chew. And a train says, chew, chew. Ed says he's shooting in the low 70s in his golf game, and his wife says that's right. As soon as it gets colder, he won't be playing. The doctor told John that he's watching golf on TV. That's no good. He should get more exercise. And so now John is watching tennis on TV. The judge is out on the golf course, and he says to his caddy, "Caddy, why do you keep looking at your watch?" And the caddy says, "Oh, no, sir, this isn't a watch, it's a compass." Marilyn said she knew it was going to be a good day. She went to Walmart, and the wheels of her shopping cart were all going in the same direction. 31 million Americans, the Labor Department reports, are idle. Those are the ones who work for the courts. "What was your major in college?" the little old lady asked the new graduate. He said, "English, advanced oratory and diction, and elocution." And she said, "Really?" And he said, "Yep." How come it is, Elmer wants to know, the father of the boy who was not good enough to be your daughter's husband is the father of the smartest grandchild in the world? Pete says he's got a disease so rare they haven't even named a telethon after it. And Ed is in such bad shape that the health club makes him use the back door. The senior citizen said if I had known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. Dorsey says, I don't eat health food. I need all the preservatives I can get. Sam took his kids to the fights, and his friend says, oh, how'd you like it? And Sam says, good. He'd never been to a hockey game before. Diane said that her dining room table goes back to Louis XIII. And Ginny says ours goes back to J.C. Penney the 14th. And the food was so bad in the hospital that the patients were asking to be fed intravenously. Let's Glendora a cheerful look at life. 2 minutes of wet, good cheer, and good humor. Brought to you by
the judge was out on the golf course, and he says, caddy, why do you keep looking at your watch? And the caddy says, oh, no, sir, this isn't a watch, it's a compass. There you go. All right.
This is Glendora to Lori. Look at this, folks. It isn't raining. The first 5 days of October were beautiful. And 5 from the 26th today, we had 21 days of rain. And I said the first day that it was decent, that I would drop everything and go to the Ghent post office and go to the museum, because the museum's going to be closed up by the winter. And Mary Ellen, one of my favorite postal clerks, got a postmaster job all of her own. She's going to be the postmaster in Lakeville, Connecticut. Lakeville, Connecticut is where one of the first Franklin Glendora museums was. It was in Lakeville, Connecticut on Route 41. It's a beautiful little town. Congratulations, Mary Ellen. I will miss you. She has such a pretty face and pretty hair, and she comes from a family of 15 children. And another interesting thing about Mary Ellen is that her husband goes to the South Pole every year. He won't be back until November. Come to the Happy House with me, folks, and have lunch with me. This is a vegetarian hamburger, 30 seconds on each side. And Ribena, This is ribena, right here, hidden underneath the lettuce. Delicious cracker. And this is potato salad in a bed of lettuce, and onion, and cucumber, and little carrots, and a slice of green pepper. And there's the vegetarian hamburger. So, let us eat and let us use this food for energy that brings happiness to people. And there's only one way to be happy. Here's the fry pat. You have to go to the Seventh-day Adventist church in your area. Go to the Seventh-day Adventist church. They always have a store in the back of health foods. And this is the compost. Folks, I think it's nice to put anything organic back into the soil. Remember, you take many nutrients out of the soil to stay alive, and it's kind of nice for you to return them. So any organic discards, make sure they go back into the soil. In the woods, and if you don't have woods around you, then when you're traveling, stop by, pull up at the roadside and put them in the woods. It's nice to return to the soil what you took from it. All gone! Folks, this is the 5th legal paper this week. Going down, we have 4 more to do. This is to the great protectors of public access, Kathy Kelly and Jim Burness. And to Arnie Engun, a protester on TV in Meriden, Connecticut, and doing us a great deal of good. And here is No Read George McDermott, and here is No Read Elena Sassauer, and No Read Brad Sachs, and Mr. Edward A. Whitney, the author of this great book, who is telling you that people are out to get you, and to control you, and to brainwash you, and give you the wrong aspect on the news, and to confuse you as to what's going on in the world. And this is to Denise Alsher, the president of the Board of Judges for the District Court of Nassau County in Hempstead. And I'm going to read you that legal paper. Folks, here is the legal paper to read you. To Denise Alsher, the president of the Board of Judges for the District Court of Nassau County. And it's at 99 Main Street in Hempstead. And this kitty cat is turning her back on the whole thing. 1. Glendora commends you on your guide to small claims. It is helpful and it is well written. See, I sent out my lawsuit to sue Diane Bennett and Alyssa Amato for dropping a chat with Glendora from 10 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Fridays. And I filed small claims action, and I wrote out exactly what had to be done. That she had cut my audience 4/5 and damaged me monetarily 4/5. Something like $10,000, of which you can only reclaim $5,000 in small claims court. So this smart aleck clerk there, when Jim Burness went to file it, wouldn't take it. And then I sent it in, my whole full page explaining it, and he wouldn't take it. And then I cut it down to 5 or 6 lines, and then he wouldn't take it. And then I cut it down again, I think. I sent it back to him. I read it all to you on TV, and he wouldn't take it. And so I think we're fed up. Glendora feels that her court civil rights under Title 47 United States Code, Section 1983, are being violated by Ronald A. Szymanski, a state actor, that is, under color of state. And this is actionable in a United States District Court. He violates New York State analog to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rules 76, 77, and 78. A clerk has to file a lawsuit. Nor can a clerk exercise editorial control over a plaintiff's claim. Further, he violates public law 94-4261. No court clerk may refuse a petition. So I'll sue him and Diane Bennett and Alyssa Amaro. But I'll sue him in federal court. It is stare decisis. Glendora is my name. See Glendora versus Cablevision, the Southern District of New York, White Plains Federal Court, Mark D. Fox, U.S. Magistrate, quote, Glendora can sue under any name she wants, unquote. Press Westlaw and Glendora, and you will come up with 6 or more pages like this. Pages are affectionate. They are stuck on each other. There's a few cases there under the name Glendora, aren't there? Just a few. And there's about 6 more pages like this. And what is the issue about a corporation? Glendora is not a corporation. There was no mention of same on Shemansky's first and second boomerangs. Why should it rear on this third one? This is Shuminsky. You notice that he doesn't sign it. You know, a clerk should know better than that. He doesn't sign it, and there's no jurat, you know, no date, no signature, no location. So being a corporation or not being a corporation is not an issue. And Glendora's closing paragraphs are, Glendora requests, no way will Glendora give her address. Anything but her box number, 124 Ghent, New York, 12075. And what is Shemansky statutory authority to demand the same? What is his statutory authority? A person does not have to give his home address on a lawsuit. And what is his home address? Glendora requests the court file her action amain. She is reading this on her TV show and on the internet, and there is a judge in New Rochelle City Court named Sher, S-H-E-R. Do you know him? And that's the end, folks. And we sent this. This is my claim. I see nothing wrong with it. And we'll send this to her with the good cheer and good humor of Bob Hope. Folks, will you do me a favor, please? Will you send me your reminiscences from 1998? No, wait, from 2002 to 2006, which isn't here yet. But will you send me your reminiscences? And I want you to do that because when you die, they're going to die with you. And I wanted to keep them alive. So either call them up and put them on my telephone recorder, or you can send me a letter. Let's see, what did we do from 2002 to 2004? The rent in White Plains was, for a 2-bedroom apartment in 2002, it was $26,600 a month. I think that's too much, and I don't believe in giving our money to greedy landlords. And I tell you that I called 500 ads in the newspapers. Of course, the Gannett newspaper in Westchester, they're not any good. And I didn't find anything that was suitable for Frankie and me. And I found this list that was advertised in the rentals, and it was $249. And I went over and I bought the list. And the first one on the list was in Dutchess County. And it was $1,000 a month, and it included everything, including cable TV, the electric, the heat, for $1,000 a month. And so I told the man, I called him up, it was up in Beekman, which is contiguous to East Fishkill, right over the Dutchess County line. You go through Westchester, you go through Putnam County, then you come to Dutchess County. And I said, don't rent it. I am serious. And I came up and I saw it, and immediately I gave him a couple of $1,000. One for security and one for the first month of July. Guess what? It was a Swiss chalet with a wraparound porch. It was situated on an acclivity, looking down at a lake, and woods all around. And the nearest neighbor was quite a few feet away. It was ideal. And so we took it and we stayed there a year. And after a year, the owner wanted to sell it. So I said to Franklin, it's bad news, but we're going to make a game out of this. We're going to have fun playing this game. And I said, we're going to try to beat this rent. Even though it was $1,000 down from $1,200 in White Plains plus 150 Cod Inn. And so I kept looking and looking and looking, and there I must have called 500 ads too. And we found a place in farther up in Dutchess County in Stanfordville. That's where Jim Cagney, the movie star, lived and died. And it was $780. And it was good. You don't remember that .com. You weren't even born. Katy Cat was, and Penny Cat were the cats there. And but as soon as I got there, practically around January, we got there in July, and around January I said, we're going to play the game even more. We're going to see if we can cut $780. And we did. We went to Chatham, we cut it down to $435. And after about 8 months there, 9 months there, I was able to move here to the Happy House, and it's only $315. So from 202 through 205. I try very hard to lead you to happiness with the Glendora Happy Book. Call for a free Glendora Happy Book. I want so much to make you happy, and I know we can do it. I know we can do it. And a Chat with Glendora grew from maybe 20, 25 TV stations up to 48. Chat with Glendora went on TV in the nation's capital, thanks to George McDermott, on the District of Columbia, DC TV. Chat with Glendora went up onto the internet, thanks to Mr. Andrew Hersman in Farmingville, or Farmington, or Farmingdale. And that's the one in Suffolk County, just over the Nassau line. And thanks to Andrew Hersman, tell me your reminiscences from the years 2002 through 2005. I started this on the first edition. No, this was the third edition. I started this on the second edition. Would you do that? Call me up and leave on my recorder your reminiscences from 2002 to 2005. And I was in the middle of telling you that the 1980 Lincoln, I decided that, we decided, Franklin and I, that we needed another Lincoln, a new one. And so we went to Hempstead Lincoln Mercury, and they have a great collection of Lincolns, Lincoln Town Cars. Great collection. So we waited around until one came in that fit the bill just right. It was $13,000 cash, and it was a 1993, and it had 60,000 miles on it. So we bought it. Franklin paid cash for it, just like that, overnight. He liked the salesman, and he wasn't going to change his mind. I said, don't you think we should put the $13,000 into the 1980 Lincoln? And he says, no. So he bought it. And he was right. It's a beautiful car. So I did go out and spend $13,000 on the 1980 Lincoln. Rocky Dog chewed it apart. So I got it all fixed up. Oh, it was beautiful. Oh, it was just beautiful. Got a new transmission. I really didn't need a new transmission. And I was snickered by that, by Lee Miles transmission down in the Bronx, just over the Mount Vernon line, just over Route 1. And there I met a dog, Rusty, a Labrador. And he was living in that garage and had for years. And I said to Joe, don't you think we ought to find Rusty a home? So I took him with me up to Mount Vernon, and that caused the landlord to be very upset. And but I stayed with Rusty, and I helped him. And then the people moved in across the street with a dog that was crying all day, and I knew the dog was going to be complained about, and the dog was going to be taken to the SPCA and probably murdered. And so I tried to rescue that dog. I went over in the middle of a rainy night, and the dog was out in the yard, and sure enough, they had given him a makeshift shelter, but the rain was coming right through the roof and pouring down on him, and the dog was curled up, and I think he would have died. And so I brought him to, and the first thing he did was go to the bathroom. He had to go to the bathroom terribly. And this is midnight, or after midnight, maybe 1 a.m. And I brought him over the house, and I dried him off with a towel, and I put a heater on him. And he spent a nice, comfortable night. And after that, I took him home, and I had to go to Lynbrook to edit. That dog was such a problem, but he was so smart. His name was Ackerman, and he was a black dog. Very, very smart. And because he was a terrier, he was very restless, like Rocky. Rocky was a terrier, and but Rusty was a Labrador, and they have very nice personalities. So Ackerman gave me trouble from beginning to end. And that eventually ruined the relationship with the landlord there in Mount Vernon, and plus the son came in, and the son was rather kind of vicious, black kind of person who wanted the whole neighborhood to be black, and I think he wanted to get rid of us so that they could have a black tenant. And he domineered over his father, who I thought was a Christian, and his father was just domineered over him, so we moved and we sued them over in the Rye City Court with Peter Lane. They kept our security deposit, and Peter Lane chopped out something like $300 out of it. The security deposit was about $1,200. So he ripped Franklin off and only gave him back $900. That's Peter Lane in the Rye Court, a very, very bad judge. I have personal knowledge. There was a judge in Larchmont, and he had blue eyes. What was his name? He was in White Plains, and he was very ambitious. And he agitated until they sent him down to Manhattan. Anyhow, he had the case of Glendora versus TCI for taking a chat with Glendora, taking away our public access channel. Can you imagine that? That's John Malone for you. What a miserable person. Pray for him. And this judge, what is his name? He lives in Larchmont. And I went in to monitor his court, and he sent down his law clerk, and his law clerk asked me to leave. See, he does bad things, and he knew I was going to report it on TV, and he broke the law. There's another United States judge who hits the pits. He broke the law. He broke the U.S. Code. He broke Americanism. Terrible man. What was his name? He went to the Quaker College, too. Skidmore. No, not Skidmore. Swarthmore. Barbara Jones was about the worst souled soul that I've met in the United States District Courts. Terrible person. And she was a Catholic, too, and brought up in Catholic school in California, and then turned over to the devil. You know, folks, as I read this book, The Controllers, and it's about the people who think we're dumb, you know, think you and I are very dumb, and that they can control us, and they can squeeze all the money out of us, and that they can get all the money and hold on to it, all these secret societies. So I have decided that they are the ones who have emptied the courts of justice. They are the ones who have plagued the whole justice system, all the way down from the Supreme Court of the United States down to the smallest village court. They have taken away justice. And it's not on the scene right now for it to come back. And there's no point in reporting anymore about how crooked these judges are. You know they're crooked, and you know how crooked the courts are, and you know how lethal they are. So we may just not bother reporting on this anymore. I'm looking for things that happened between the years of 2002 and 2005. That's pretty good. We had a terrible landlord in Chatham, an out-and-out crook with a crooked lawyer, of course, and then a crooked judge, George Dixon. And so I went after them with everything that I had. I let everybody in the whole court system of the state of New York know. Judith Kay, the chief judge, Jonathan Lippman, the administrator of courts for the state of New York, his deputy, Trafficante, and then it changed to Pumadora, or whatever his name is. And I let the district judge know, Ceresia. I let everybody know how bad George Dixon was, and his wife, who was the clerk. And I appealed everything, and it was a great battle. And then I sued them all in the United States District Court in Chicago. That was omnibus lawsuit, something like number 23. Throughout this whole period, I went from omnibus lawsuit number 1 in 2000, and now I'm up to writing omnibus lawsuit 27. By omnibus, I mean I sued judges, I sued clerks, I sued Cablevision. I sued Cablevision once a month, if not 2 or 3 times a month. And we prevailed on that landlord case and exposed it on TV, on Charter Communications, which is in Chatham and Ghent, and goes to Hillsdale and goes all the way down to what's that cute little town next to them? It has the lake, you know. And finally they capitulated. Okay, it was a phony $2,000 damages suit against me. Lies from the beginning. And George Dixon was so inept and such a bumbler. And so I didn't countersue, I sued. I didn't counterclaim, I brought a separate lawsuit. And I won on that. I won in the Court of Appeals for Columbia County. I won both of my appeals. Appeal of their lawsuit and the appeal of mine. They were both dismissed by Dixon. So I won on both of those. It was a tremendous victory. And now everything else I think there's a record of. There's a record practically of everything from 1972 up in the museum, the Glendora Franklin Museum, Pro Se newspaper and public access museum. So there's a record of all of those. And I think we've finished our reminiscences. Memories that will die when we die, okay? So please either write them down for me or yours, or put them on the recorder. Call for a free Glendora Happy Book. This is one of the great events of the year 2005, is that I'm trying so hard to lead you to happiness. I know it's possible for you, and I know that you're missing all of the wealth and the excitement and the thrill and the attainment and the applause and the appreciation and the accomplishment and the attainment. You're missing it all. I know you're missing it all. It's out there around you. You haven't called it in yet. I want you to spend your time alone with God every day, every morning, the first thing. And you'll be amazed what you will hear, and have your little notebook and write it down. And then count pure thoughts throughout the day, and count blessings every 15 minutes. Right now it's 12:15 p.m. What blessing? What are we going to rejoice about? Excuse me, don't count blessings every 15 minutes. Rejoice every 15 minutes. What are we going to rejoice about? Sunshine. For the first day in how many days? 21. And the clouds are at the moment prevailing. And then count your pure thoughts, rejoice about something every 15 minutes, and pray for your enemies. And sing hymns. For all these people I just mentioned in this program who have betrayed America and everything beautifully American, let us sing this hymn. Breathe on them breath of God, till they are wholly thine, until that earthly part of them glows with thy Spirit divine. Want to hear your jokes? All right, what do you call a judge with an IQ of 50? Your Honor. And the judge is out on the golf club, out on the golf course, and he says, "Caddy, why do you keep looking at your watch?" And the caddy said, "Oh, no, sir, this isn't a watch, it's a compass." And what's the difference between a teacher and a train? A teacher says, "Don't chew," and a train says, "Choo, choo." And the doctor told Peter, "You're not getting enough exercise, you're watching golf on TV." So Peter now is watching tennis on TV. And Harry had a bad day on the golf course. Did I tell you about that? I think I did last week, and he threw his golf bag into in the pond, he threw his clubs into the pond, he threw his golf balls into the pond. And he goes up to the clubhouse and he slits his wrist, and he's standing there bleeding to death. And George came in and says, "Hi Harry, how about a game of golf tomorrow?" And Harry said, "What time?" The little old lady said to the recent college graduate, "What was your major?" And he said, "English, grammar, composition, communications, elocution, and advanced oratory." And the little old lady said, "Really?" And he said, "Yep." How come, John said, the fellow who wasn't good enough to be your wife's husband is the father of the smartest grandson in the whole world? Pete has a disease that's so rare and they haven't even had a telephone for it yet. And Ed is in such bad shape that his health club makes him use the back door. And the senior citizen said, if I knew I was going to be this healthy and live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. Marilyn says, She doesn't like health foods. She needs all of the preservatives that she can get. Pete he told his friend, I took my son to the fights last night, and his friend says, did he like it? And Pete says, oh yeah, he'd never seen a hockey game before. And the food in the hospital was so bad that the patients requested to be fed intravenously. And Marilyn says, bragging, says, my dining room table goes back to Louis XIII. And Joanne says, if we don't make the payment, ours goes back to J.C. Penney the 14th. Glendora, cheerful look at life, 2 minutes of goodwill, good cheer, and good humor, and it's brought to you by... This is the Valatia Post Office, and this may be my last week of coming here.
I don't need a box.
That's fine.
I mean, it should be fine, right?
You can use that, it's okay. As long as you will tape it, we'll put express tape on it, and you'll be good.
Okay, so fill this out.
What are you doing?
Taping your beautiful blue counters.
Oh.
For 1993 Lincoln, he doesn't have any brakes. And he got to go to the hospital. I think it's such an interesting process. Doesn't take him very long. Takes a long time to pay him, $50. I got talked into this. I think I could have driven it to Van Allen. But I got suckered into it. Goodbye, baby. My life's incomplete without you. There goes your car, Frankie, to the hospital. When the tow man came down the street, he came into the driveway and he saw the two Lincolns. He says, which one? This one has a short and won't start. Cars are wonderful, but cars are, well, it's like bringing up kids. It's always a problem. Bye, honey. I'd rather have him go flatbed than be towed. I'll tell you something about the suspension on this car. Here he comes. He went up and turned around. Thank you, God. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. This little kitty wants to come in. Shall we let this little kitty in? Shall we let this little kitty in the house? I guess so. All right, shut the drawer and open the door. And here she comes. Keep your eye on the ball. And wet feet right over the water-soluble ink in the notebooks. What's the matter? Your food is on the floor and you want it on the desk? Okay, I'll do it for you. Looky, folks, two of my neighbors across the street, they saw the tow truck, and they dropped in to see if they could give me a ride anywhere, and they brought me this hot cranberry bread that they just made. Isn't that nice? That's so nice of them. I wanted to know if I had to have a ride. I think we got it set. Who knows? At 2 o'clock I called Van Allen, the people who towed the car away, and to see if the brakes are fixed. And then I called Jane Dean, my other neighbor, down the street to the north, and then she will take me up to Van Allen, and I have to stop at Stewart's and get money out of the savings account. And then I'll have to get this legal paper in before 5 o'clock to go overnight mail. And I'll tell you what it's all about. First of all, it goes to Cecilia Masterilli, the cause of it all, and to Swarak and sadly Stevens, Burke and Burke, the ignorant Park Avenue lawyer, to friend George E. McDermott. Haven't been able to reach him on the phone for 8 calls, and I'm worried about him. And Brian G. Grafman, my amicus curiae in Glendora versus Cablevision, when the courts told Cablevision to put Glendora's show back on the TV, and the Center for Judicial Accountability, and Edward A. Whitney, the author of this great book, The Controllers. The Controllers, how they're taking you over, folks, and trying to brainwash you and make you a nothing, and starve you and make you sick until you until they can enslave you. Arnie Angan, who just invited me to come down to Connecticut and be on his show, and Paul Friedman, who is the judge in the White Plains City Court, who is the clerk in the White Plains City Court. Where were you hiding? And Brian Hansberry, who is the judge in the White Plains City Court. Christine Savarino, who enslaves Cecilia Masterilli to persecute a chat with Glendora and take it off of the cable and off of the TV any way she can. Albert LeBrun, who's fighting a great battle in Connecticut with a $100,000 judgment against his home, which was got by trickery, and which is all illegal. And now I'm going to dress up and videotape this for you. But first, I want to eat that hot cranberry bread. I want a judgment of $5,000 against Cecilia Masterilli, who works for Cablevision. The cause of that action and how it all happened has already been told to you. Park Avenue law firm, sadly Stevens, Burke and Burke, through Walter A. Swarak, made a motion to vacate that judgment. Their argument was totally ignorant. They said that White Plains didn't have any jurisdiction over Cecilia because she lived in Peekskill. Well, the rule in Westchester is that any small claims action can be brought in any of the 5 city courts of Westchester, and I chose to bring it in White Plains. So that it was just plain ignorant. And another thing that they said was ignorant too, and I told you about that. Now, the judge denied their motion to vacate the judgment that I got against Cecilia. And now I think it's all over and I can go ahead and resume the collection. But then I get a letter yesterday afternoon, and this dumb letter says, this is from Swarak, Sadly, Stevens, Burke, and Burke, 230 Park Avenue, the Pan Am Building, a bunch of ignoramuses. And this, I want you to see Swarak's signature. And he says to Judge Hansberry, the judge in the White Plains City Court, we have received notice from the court in claimant Glendora today that she has requested and the court has agreed to have defendant Cecilia Masterrilli's motion to vacate the default judgment entered against defendant decided on submission. I'm glad this Swarak is not a judge. His sentences are too long. In light of Glendora's request to proceed on submission, Miss Masterilli requests that the temporary restraining order barring Glendora from enforcing the default judgment be extended to up to and including 10 days after entry of the court's decision on the motion to vacate. I believe that by this time the motion had already been decided against these people. Okay, what are you going to do with this? Well, I called up the City Court of White Plains and I found out they don't even have this letter. And another thing, the 10 days I think have gone by. And the judge has already issued the order dismissing their motion to default and letting Glendora resume collection. Do I let it drop there? No, I'm not going to take a chance. This is not the first day that Cablevision is ruined in my life. Writing my opposition, which I'm going to read to you now, and it's going to those people I showed you, and it is going by overnight mail to the court and overnight mail to these ignorant lawyers, sadly, Stephen Burke and Burke Swarak. October the 26th, 2005, Anno Domini, City Court, City of White Plains, County of Westchester, State of New York, United States of America, because this is on the internet. The small claims number is there. And this is Glendora Plaintiff versus Cecilia Masterilli et al., defendants. And this is Glendora's opposition to a 10-day stay. No stay if no undertaking, and undertaking twice the judgment equals $10,040. And opposition on other grounds. They have already asked for the relief granted. That's a no-no in the courts. You don't ask for the same relief twice. They cannot keep asking the court for the same release. They have actually asked for a stay. It has been denied. They have already asked for a stay. It has been denied. Nor did they state that they had asked for the same relief before. You don't move a court by writing a letter. These people have to write a grown-up legal paper, a notice of motion, and an affirmation in support, or an affidavit in support. Cecilia Swarak sadly give no grounds why a 10-day stay should be granted. They give no statutory authority. They did not mention for purposes of an appeal. Anyway, on appeal does not stay the collection of a judgment. Now how can they appeal it? How can they possibly appeal the motion denying vacating the judgment on their stupid, ignorant claim that White Plains did not have jurisdiction over Cecilia and Peekskill? That's so ignorant. You can't appeal that. That's not appealable. In no way is their nescience appealable. They were ignorant of the law. Any small claims action can be brought in any of the 5 city courts in Westchester. They did not know that. Their ignorance is not appealable. The 10 days is to make what? To hide Cecilia's assets. They did not ask for a stay pending appeal. Glendora did not receive a copy of this plural letter until this afternoon at 1 p.m. I'm writing this yesterday. She is answering now at 6 p.m. She would have answered sooner, but on the road, a rear metal brake line started to leak, and the brakes went dangerously soft. And even with that emergency and trying to find somebody to repair it, she attended to this puerile, fatally served kid letter by Swarak. She called the White Plains City Court, but it is all tied up because it is Wednesday, small claims night, and 60 people are standing around to be helped. Since the kid letter has no notice of motion, there is no return date, The court does not know how long it has, and neither does Glendora know how long she has. And when is this Park Avenue law firm going to stop making a fool of itself? Again, as with all their papers, Glendora is not properly served. Something is not properly served because a post office box is not proper service. Because I may go to the post office, I don't go every day. How do I know if they're waiting? She has to be served in personam. Now finally, no stay can be granted until Cecilia Swarak Sadley put up an undertaking. The undertaking has to be twice the judgment amount. The judgment is for $5,020. Twice that is what? You're right! Dated October the 26th, 2005, Anno Domini, Columbia County, State of New York. Yours in truth and in amor patria, Glendora, on 48 TV stations, 480 municipalities, including Washington, D.C. and Albany. Glendora is suing. It's ready to be, I think I'm going to file it today. I'm sending it out today. Glendora is suing Cecilia Swarak and Sadley for the postage, the mileage, the time, and the labor they have caused her by their ignorance. Her ad hominem is $5,000. This is less money than they have injured her, but it's all she can get. It's the monetary jurisdiction of city courts in the state of New York, $5,000. Their phonetics have been ridiculously incongruous, irrational, unreasonable, and foolish. As of 10/27, Thursday, 10 o'clock this morning, Small Claims Court has no copy of this letter by Sadley, which was dated on the 18th of October, nor an original. Signed Glendora, this is being served by overnight another $14 plus $14 to the court and to Sadley, Stevens, Burke, and Burt today, October the 27th, Thursday, to arrive by noon, October the 28th, Friday. The something are over. The stay is over. I can go out and collect. Okay, folks, 2 o'clock I'm supposed to call Van Allen and see if the brakes are fixed on the 1993 Lincoln, and then go see Jane Dean, another neighbor, who was kind enough to take me up there and see if I can get the car. Okie doke. What do the senior citizens say? If I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. Glendora to Mary Ramage, Yorktown, Mohegan Lake.
Okay. Let's see. You know what the senior citizen said? If I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. Oh, boy.
A nice conversation this morning with my former physics professor, Dr. Eric Beth, a theoretical physicist, who was writing a brilliant paper, and he's 93 years old. And so that was philosophic. I'm going to call him again Sunday at 4 p.m. This is Glendora versus Eacock, and it's in the appellate term, 2nd Department, 9th Judicial District, Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Westchester, United States of America, 2005. Appellant's brief. It's case number 1150. Glendora versus Eacock, Deborah Eacock. This is on appeal from the Phillipstown Town Court. Bad Judge Stephen Toman. Maybe a good judge, but led her stray. And so whose copy is that? That's Glenn's copy. This is for the appellate term. The Judge 2 and Judge 3, or excuse me, that was Judge 3. This is Judge 2 already. It's very, very thick. This is Judge 1. And this is Glenn's copy somewhere. And Ecock's copy and so forth. And Charles F. Dolan's copy. And Center for Judicial Accountability. And for McDermott. I work on this an hour a day. It has to be handed in December 1st. Poor little copying machine works so hard. And what do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 50? Your Honor. I talked at length to Arnie Engun in Meriden, Connecticut this morning about more TV shows we're going to do as to judicial depravity. And sometime in the middle of November, I'm going to their meeting in Waterbury. People who are not being fooled by the secret societies and by the kidnapped government of the United States. And then we're going to do a TV show in Connecticut. And I think while I'm there, I'll go and see if I can't get somebody to sign the papers for Seymour, Ansonia, Derby, and Shelton, Naugatuck, Beacon Falls. And also see if we can't take care of the Manchester Cox situation. Now let's go through these files and see if we can find attachment 3. Volume 3. Now folks, how can I hold a camera and drag the screen so you can see a cute thing? See, I can't. Takes 2 people. Takes 4 hands. You know, that great big work on the appellate terms, the judges aren't going to read it. Appeals judges don't read anything. They don't know anything. But that's not the name of the game in the courts. The name of the game in the courts is to do what the secret societies tell you to do. And that's to get rid of justice. Rob the people of justice. Rob the people of the Constitution. Rob the people of their gold. Rob the people of their money. Folks, look how affluent are the falls, the Stuyvesant Falls. That's the Kinderhook Creek, flowing toward the Hudson River. But we had 5 nice days in October, the first week of October, and then we've had 22 sunless days and 20 days of rain. So no wonder the falls are affluent. Look at them. Wow. So much rain. Well, 3.5 hours at the museum today. I think we've got out all of the winter clothes and blankets, and I think we put away all of the summer clothes. And I think we did a little trim and tidy and got out things for the car. And I looked through my mother's second box, and there are such precious keepsakes there. Such precious keepsakes. In the Presque Isle Star Herald Mrs. Howard Leathers is in town visiting her daughter, Mrs. Ralph Arnold Folsom. That's my mother and my grandmother. And Mrs. Howard Leathers was Vesta Kyle Leathers.
His equal.
I wish you could feel the warmth. You can see the blue sky. This is the way October started. 5 days of perfect weather. That's Berkshire Cable and Telephone and Internet. And then we had 21 days of rain and 23 sunless days. Now we are on standard time. Did the camera change itself? Folks, I do not serve my God with humility. I serve my God with pride. I have to find another church where it's got a little backbone to it. Or we could stay in that church and try to teach those people that God doesn't want sniveling servants. God wants partners. Jokes. Glendora, cheerful look at life. 2 minutes of goodwill, good cheer, and good humor. What do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 50? Your Honor. The judge was out on the golf course, and he said, "Caddy, why do you keep looking at your watch?" And the caddy says, "Oh no, sir, this isn't a watch. This is a compass. We are rejoicing for this beautiful October day. Can you imagine it? It's as beautiful as the first 5 days of October." My love in thee. So what's the difference between a teacher and a train? The teacher says, "Don't chew," and a train says, "Chew, chew." Paul says he was shooting in the low 70s in his golf game. He's shooting in his low 70s, and his wife says, "That's right. If it gets any colder, he won't go out." The doctor said to Peter, "You are not getting enough exercise. There you sit watching golf on TV." Peter says, "Okay, I'll start watching tennis on TV." Marilyn knew it was going to be a great day. She went to Walmart's and she got a shopping cart, and all the wheels were going in the same direction. But Walmart's pretty good at that. It's the other stores that are inclined to be that way. And the Department of Labor reports that 31 million Americans are idle. Indeed they are. They work for the courts. The little old lady said to the recent college graduate, "What was your major?" And he said, "English composition, advanced oratory, and elocution." She said, "Really?" And he said, "Yep." And how come, the man wants to know, the boy who wasn't good enough to be your daughter's husband is the father of the brightest grandson in the world. Edgar has a disease, he says, that's so new they haven't even had a telethon for it. And Jeremy, the health club, he's in such bad shape that the health club makes him use the back door. Isn't this blue sky spectacular? And I don't see, oh, all right, it's almost without aerosol clouds. The senior citizen said if I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. And Joanne says she will not eat health foods because she needs all of the preservatives she can get. Now, I'm sorry I was late at church today, but daylight saving time to standard time got me, and it has for the 5 past years. I've done this for 5 years now. This year I thought I had it beat. I have about 8 clocks on the wall, so I'll make sure to rejoice about something every 15 minutes. And we just did. For noon, we rejoiced about the azure blue sky. And so I have about 8 clocks, and 7 of them were set on daylight time, but 1 was set on standard time. And I don't know what happened. I was following the wrong one, I guess. But I got to church just at the pastoral prayer, the closing prayer. I'm sorry. Pete said he took his son to the fights last night. His friend says, "Oh, did he enjoy them?" And Pete says, "Yeah, he'd never been to a hockey game before." And the food in the hospital was so bad that the patients requested that the doctors feed them intravenously. And Dorothy was bragging, "Our dining room table goes back to Louis the 14th. And Paulie says, "Ours is going back to J.C. Penney on the 15th. This is Glendora, Cheerful Look at Life, and brought to you by. Doesn't Paul in the church, Paul Claus, do a magnificent job with his praise music and then with leading the choir? And here he has some kind of a stint or something in his heart, but he goes up and down those stairs. Downstairs he does the praise music, and then he goes all the way upstairs in the balcony to do the choir. And isn't the choir good? I don't know how do they do it with such limited resources. Let me see how much time there is on the tape. There's 3 words I'm working on. I hope you will work on them with me. One is abstain, and abstain means to withdraw from participation, and you are abstaining from bad thoughts, right? No negative, second level, trivial, ugly thoughts. Abstain also means to refrain from indulgence, overindulgence. In the wild wood. Now take note, folks, in January and February, that we were outdoors videotaping the day before All Saints' Eve. And please don't let your kids call it Halloween. That's terrible. It is what it is, All Saints' Eve. Because November 1st is All Saints' Day. And we need saints. And I want you to be a saint. I keep thinking, what can I do? To make you happy. I know you can be happy. You have all of the wealth, all of the strength inside of you. You have all of the equipment. You have all of the power. And it's right down inside of you. The job is to sit down and spend your time with it. And you do that the first thing of the day. You put your alone time with God first. And I want you to know all that happiness that's inside of you. It is not outside of you. It is here inside of you. And it's all up to you, and nobody can stop you. You're the boss. You sit down and stay with God and spend your alone time with God first, every day. I want to see you happy. I don't want to see you chasing around something that isn't going to bring you happiness. There's just that one only thing that'll bring you happiness, and that's your oneness with God. And I want to see you do it. Again, you are extremely gifted. You don't know how gifted you are. You don't realize how well made you are. You don't remember it. You don't think about it. And you don't hear the calling. The calling of the greatest and beautiful thing that you can do.